They came back downcast and explained to Krishna what happened. Krishna laughed. And in his laughing he said that it is the nature of begging, that sometimes they give, sometimes they do not give. You should not be attached to either one. But their wives are very great devotees. Go to their wives and ask some food for us. So the little boys went to the wives. No. The wives were just sitting home. They were helping with the yajna, but just on the sidelines. They weren't really participating. They were doing the domestic chores. When the Gopas asked on behalf of Krishna and Balaram for some food, immediately they just gathered the best possible food in the best pots and put it on their heads and brought it in their arms and said, "Whip, take us now." Meanwhile, the husbands, the brothers, some of the children, other relatives, they forbid them to go. You cannot go. What is this? Your husbands, we're just doing a big yajna and you're just leaving, going? You cannot go. They went through the forest. Eager, so eager. How did they learn about Krishna? This is a very important part of the story. Just in their daily activities, they would meet Brijavasis. They would buy flowers from flower sellers. They would sometimes buy vegetables from vegetable sellers. And those people would talk about Krishna, glorify Krishna and Balaram. They never saw Krishna. They never met Krishna. They just heard about Krishna from Krishna's devotees. When they were little children, and just by hearing about Krishna, they developed such love for Krishna. They longed to see Krishna. They longed to please Krishna. And here was their opportunity. They went to the forest in such anticipation, such eagerness. It is the nature. If we are eager, lobha, Rupa Goswami explains, if we are greedy to please the Lord, to serve the Lord, to love the Lord, then the Lord reciprocates with that eagerness. And this very much is the difference between a hollow ritual without substance and a genuine act of love and devotion, which may have the same exact form of that ritual. It is our enthusiasm, our eagerness. If we're just chanting japa, which is the recommended process in this age for self-purification, the holy names of the Lord, if we're chanting japa inattentively, without really trying to hear the holy name, without really striving to please the Lord through that process, then our japa is very much like a ritual. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, 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 Ram. We just try to get our rounds done. The result? We get our rounds done. But Srila Prabhupada says with our lips we should be chanting, with our ears we should be hearing, with our heart we should be crying out for the Lord. Like a baby crying for a mother. That's not a ritual. That's serious. My mother's my only shelter. Whatever act of devotional service we perform, if there is an enthusiasm and an attentiveness to actually purify our heart and please Krishna, then whatever ritual we may perform, it will have a tremendous substance. And what is that substance? Is we access the empowerment and the mercy of God. Now we can recite prayers of great personalities, and that is purifying. But it's ever more purifying when we actually try to enter into the mood that they offered their prayers. There are so many beautiful stories. Gajendra, when he was on the verge of death, he was not ritualistically offering prayers. It was from the core of his heart. Prahlad Maharaj, when he offered his prayers, Kunti Devi, when she offered her prayers, Prabhupada's prayers on the Jaladuta. If we try to understand the content and the feeling in which they're offering their prayers, the prayers by Bhakti Vinod and Narottam Das Thakur, there is an enthusiasm to access the mercy of the Lord, to give one's heart to the Lord through that ritual. And that is the real content. So these Brahmins' wives, they were so enthusiastic and determined to offer Krishna whatever Krishna wanted, just to please Krishna. They didn't even perform any ritual. They just went. And they saw near the banks of the Yamuna, Krishna was walking with his cowherd boyfriends. And there they saw he had one arm on the shoulder of another cowherd boy. He had beautiful complexion like a monsoon rain cloud. His eyes were like large, fully blossomed lotus petals. His nose like the sesame flower, his lips like the fresh bimba fruit. His neck like a conch shell, had 3 lines on it. His shoulders were broad, his waist was thin. He was standing so beautifully in yellow garments that resembled lightning. And there was a peacock feather adorning his beautiful, beautiful hair that was curling around his moon-like face and cascading over his shoulders. There was a garland of fresh, wild forest flowers that extended from his neck to below his knees. He was carrying his flute and a stick for herding the cows. His eyebrows were like the bows of Cupid. There were beautiful, shining, shark-shaped earrings on his ears. He cast his glance of love upon them. The Brahmins' wives, through their eyes, they brought Krishna into the core of their hearts. And there they embraced him with love, and he embraced them in reciprocation. It was the ultimate perfection of their lives. Krishna gave them the ultimate experience of prema, or ecstatic love. Why? Simply because they had such enthusiasm to please him and to serve him. They had such enthusiasm to hear his glories and chant his names. Krishna offered them a place to sit, and then told them that your husbands, they need you. They're performing a yajna. You should go home. They did not want to go home. For them, they considered that, who are our husbands? Who is anyone? They're just dead corpses. You are the life of life. The difference between a dead body and a living body is consciousness. Consciousness is the symptom of the presence of the soul, the Atma. And you are the soul of the soul. You are the Paramatma. Because the soul is part and parcel of you, a little spark of you, like a sun ray is a part of the sun. That consciousness illuminates the whole one's life. So ultimately, Krishna, it's only you we love in everyone. So if we're here serving you, that is the perfection of our service to everyone. But Krishna explained to them that you will not achieve perfection just by your physical proximity with me. You should go home. And in separation from me, in that feeling of love and separation, you should remember me. You should speak my glories. You should hear my glories and chant my holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In this way, you will always be with me and I will always be with you. That is how you will achieve perfection. The Brahmins' wives, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they didn't even want to be Krishna's personal consorts. They said, Krishna, you're a cowherd boy, it might be controversial if you're with Brahmins' wives. So we'll just live in the forest. And whenever you place tulsi garlands on the gopis, and when they cast those garlands away, we will pick them up and put them on our heads. In that way we will glorify you and serve you. That was their selfless service attitude. But Krishna told them to return home. And when they did, the husbands realized what fools they were. To hell, they said, to hell with all of our being born Brahmins. To hell with our getting initiated in Gayatri Mantra and all of that other. To hell with our expertise in performing all the rituals of the sacrifices. To hell with all our vast learning of the Vedas. To hell with our being the gurus of so many people who come and touch our feet and learn from us. Our wives, they haven't done any of those things. But they have pleased Krishna. They have surrendered to Krishna. Vedaishcha sarveraham eva vedyo vedantakrit veda vedeva chaham. The whole purpose of all the Vedas is to know Krishna, to love Krishna. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masuja. Krishna says, abandon all these varieties of different dharmas and just surrender to me. That is the focus. That is the purpose of all religion. To love God. To access the empowerment of God so that we can be an instrument of God's love within this world. Sanatana Dharma is not a particular sect. Sanatana Dharma is a universal principle. Dharma means that which cannot be separated from our existence, our intrinsic nature. The dharma of a chili pepper is it's hot. The dharma of sugar is it's sweet. The dharma of water is it's liquid. If you put it in an unnatural situation, it becomes solid, but as soon as it's put in a more natural setting, it becomes liquid. The Sanatana Dharma, the dharma of every living being, is to serve God with love. Savai pongshang paro dharmo yato bhaktiradhokshaje ahaitikya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. Wherever we see unmotivated, unconditional, loving service to the Lord, and genuine compassion for other living beings, that is real religion. It's not a matter of being a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or a Parsi or a Jain. It's a matter of developing love of God and developing the character of a person who has love of God. Tatikshava karunaka surada sarvadehana. Humility, tolerance, compassion, self-control, these are the qualities of one who loves God. These Brahmins condemned themselves. They had all the reputation, all the initiations, they performed all the rituals so expertly. But when the opportunity to render direct personal service to the Lord was there, they were too much immersed in their rituals to understand that now is the chance to fulfill the purpose of them. It's like you're working for a paycheck. You're working so hard. And your boss says, here's your paycheck. And you say, I don't have time, I'm working. Performing so many rituals, the purpose of the ritual is to please Krishna, but when the opportunity to please Krishna is there, you're too busy doing the ritual. They realize that. And in their heart of hearts, they surrender to their wives. They don't do any of this. They're not known for any of this. But they have understood the essence. In Lord Chaitanya, there was a poor beggar named Suklambar Brahmachari. Every day he would go to different houses. Nobody knew who he was. He was a pure devotee, constantly thinking of Krishna, constantly chanting Krishna's names, constantly eager to serve the Lord in everything he did, everything he said. But only the Lord knew it within his heart. Everyone else considered him to just be an ordinary, useless beggar. He had a little cloth bag, and he would collect some low-quality rice from people's houses. They'd throw it in the bag. And one day when he was with Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya was manifesting his opulences as the Supreme Lord, he called Suklambar forward and reached his hand in that bag, took out a handful of that beggar rice and ate it. Suklambar Brahmachari, now I'm finished. What are you doing, my Lord? This is not suited for you. This is beggar's rice. Lord Chaitanya said, I have never tasted anything so sweet and so nourishing as the rice from Suklambar Brahmachari's bag. Now the amazing thing is generally to make an offering to the Lord according to proper ritual. You have to take your bath. Yes, you have to cook it in very hygienic circumstances. And then you have to do the proper mantras, make the proper offering. Suklambar Brahmachari, without any mantra or tantra or yantra or mudra or puja, he didn't even offer it. The Lord stole it from him. Because of his devotion, the Lord was hungry, was starving for that rice. When Krishna went to Hastinapur, Duryodhana had a magnificent feast and royal reception for Krishna. But Krishna went to the house of Vidura, who wasn't even expecting him. There was nothing prepared. He just got a banana peel. Krishna ate it. He was millions of times happier with that. Because patram pushpam palam toyam. Krishna is satisfied by the intent of what we offer, by our love and devotion. So ritual to spiritual. In the beginning of our spiritual path, we follow what is Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti means we perform certain rituals, certain rules, and certain regulations for our purification. but where there is a proper philosophy, a proper science behind it, then it's all very meaningful. In my own life, with your permission, I will say, when I was in the West, I saw the rituals of the religions of my country, and it just seemed so backward and unfashionable and empty. Because I saw people doing all these rituals, but I didn't see it really transformed their lives. They were just materialistic people who did rituals every Sunday or whatever. And then I came to India. And I remember when I saw people offering arti to a deity, I thought, God, is this ever superstitious stuff? I thought, this is so ritualistic. I'll never forget. Even when I met Prabhupada at Cross Maidan, there was a devotee offering an arti to Radha and Krishna deities. And it was so uncomfortable in my heart to see this ritual. It just looked so, what is the word? So external. And I was thinking in my heart, I'll never do that. I'll meditate. I'll meditate and I'll pray, but I'll never do a ritual like that, offering incense and offering A couple years later, I was a pujari. And for the next 7 years, all I did was be with pujaris. 6 offerings and 6 artis every day for deities. And I loved it. I was thinking, all my life, I'll just do this, pujari. There's nothing better. What was the difference between when I first saw it and when I was doing it? Is by Prabhupada and the Vaishnava's mercy and by the scriptures, I understood what it meant. It was a science based on a very deep, profound, all-encompassing philosophy of how to awaken our love of God. A way to express our intent to love God. A way to express our intent to serve and to please God. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Beautiful thing I ever experienced. Now we may be chanting the holy names and it may be like a ritual. But if we just have the right enthusiasm, the right intent, then that ritual becomes something very, very deeply spiritual. Cheto darpana marajanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapana. Because if it is done under proper guidance with the proper purpose, it purifies our heart, purifies our motivations, and gradually, real, genuine, spiritual experience awakens from within. Lord Chaitanya has prayed, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sajja Kabunois Ravanadi Sudichiti Kuriya Yudoi. The love of God is dormant within the heart of everyone. And all the 9 processes of devotional service, especially hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord and the association of those who are eager to serve the Lord, it awakens that love within our heart. Some people go to the church or the synagogue or the temple or the masjid in a very ritualistic way because they're afraid what will happen if they don't go, or because it's good luck, or because it's our tradition, or because we want something material. But the greatest acharyas have established temples for the purpose of people coming together to share their realizations, to encourage one another, to inspire one another, to give those things that are unfavorable for loving God and to accept those things that are favorable to loving God. When we see the deity, we're not looking at wood and stone. If we understand the science of what deity worship is, the philosophy behind it, it's something so deep and so glorious. It's not idol worship. It's an opportunity to connect our consciousness and be totally absorbed in the Supreme. The yoga process, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, but it's all meant ultimately for the purpose of samadhi. The yoga system is not just to have a good body. It's meant for samadhi. That's the goal. Samadhi siddhir ishvara pranidanat. The perfection of samadhi is to be completely absorbed in a mood of surrender to the Lord. So the yoga system, if we keep our mind fixed on the goal, then we'll actually achieve the goal. And through this microphone, made out of the sacred elements created by Krishna, we will chant the holy name.